Hello, everybody. Welcome to CKA Lab 6. Let's take a look at the requirements. We're supposed to create a pod with a particular image. Why? Because the common ones that we typically use, Alpine and busybox and Ubuntu and Nginx, they don't have ping or NC installed, and this lab requires those executables. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to check some services that are already running, take a note of those. Then you're going to shell into the pod and you're going to test some connectivity from that pod to a service that's in the same namespace. And then you're going to just do the same thing for another service that's running a different namespace. So let's get started. K is shortcut for kubectl. I'm connected to a cluster that's has only one node. The first requirement is to run a pod from this particular image, and that image has to sleep for an hour because otherwise it just finishes and then we're done. We can't get back into it. So kubectl run. Let's give it a name. Let's give it A1, name of the pod. Then image, I copied and pasted this one, and then this pod has to sleep for an hour. So -- sleep 3600, and pod is created. Let's look and see if it's running. This container creating stage. Okay, now it's running. Make sure it didn't die. Now, second step. What services are running in the default space? Get svc. In the default space, only service that's running is Kubernetes, and it is running on available on port 43. Something to take a note of. We also should take a note of the IP address, but anyway, that comes later, maybe. The other service there are many other services running in a different namespace. So get svc -a. The one that the lab requires us to look at is the DNS one. Name of the service is kube-DNS. It's running in kube-system namespace, and it is available on port 53, both UDP and TCP. We will need this information later on when you do the testing. Next, we will shell into the pod. So the pod's name was A1, if you remember. So kexec -I -t. Name of the pod is A1, and I believe you do -- and bin bash. This will probably fail. I'll tell you in a second why. So I will pause here and I will pick this up on the second part of the lab where we shell into this pod. So this was part 1 of CKA Lab 1. We will see you in lab 2 of part 2 of CKA Lab 6.